Avengers 57, my favorite Avengers comic cover, Jack Kirby with the Vision, and I mean, everyone's terrified. Behold the Vision. I mean, this is basically very similar in tone to the Fantastic Four number 49, where you have Galactus and the Fantastic Four, and everyone's scared and they're running. You don't know what's going on. I like the red. Gives a very menacing look and feel to the comic. And yeah, this is the first appearance of the Vision. I don't really see this comic a lot on YouTube, but apparently it was the Ultron villain. Here, one sec. See? There's Galactus. Everyone's running, they're scared. Same idea here. So yeah, Ultron creates the Vision, who goes after the Avengers. Just the Wasp that sees him, and she gives him the name Vision because he's a vision of death. He's supposed to be the death of the Avengers. And it's just a really cool comic that you don't really see all too often, but I mean, I'm sold on this cover. My favorite Avengers comic, Avengers 57, Jack Kirby, Silver Age awesomeness. Here's a hokey Green Lantern comic, Green Lantern number 24, where he has to explore a world that has a strange resemblance to himself, but it's firing missiles at him, and he's wondering to himself that that world firing missiles at me has a continent which bears a striking resemblance to myself. And again, the old school DC comics had these like little squares that would feature the story, and all the stories were in like quotation marks. And I guess if you're a kid back in the day, you're like, oh my god, I gotta know what's up, even though now like I'm an adult and I'm just like, I'll buy it for the nostalgia, but I don't know, it's a bit too much for me. It's my one and only issue of Tales to Astonish. I've been seeing a lot of reviews for Tales to Astonish on YouTube. I don't really know too much about Namor, like the old school Namor, so I figured I'd get into it. So here's my issue 98. It's a split screen comic, Submariner and Hulk, so I'm sure I'll at least like the Hulk, but I like this comic. He's protecting his underwater homeworld because he's had a vendetta against the human race since his early beginnings, that they've destroyed his homeworld with pollution and whatnot. So nice blue cover. Ironically enough, contrast to this, where this is a vision of fear and this is more like a mourning, not mourning. I love Neil Adams and I love Ra's al Ghul, so I had to have this comic. This is Batman number 232, first appearance of Ra's al Ghul. This is a classic Neil Adams race story. It's the Daughter of the Demon, where Robin is kidnapped and then Ra's al Ghul's daughter is supposedly kidnapped, so Ra's teams up with Batman to find them, but it's all a test to see if Batman is worthy of marrying his daughter by having Batman scour the world trying to find the two abductees. But if you've watched the Batman animated series, Ra's al Ghul is the only one who ever actually calls Batman detective. He knows his secret identity. I mean, it makes for an interesting cartoon. This is a cartoon, but it's scaled to such a level of maturity and sophistication that you can't help but love it. Plus, I met Neil Adams. I'm a little biased, but I love this comic. I've been trying to get this one for a long time. Actually, if this looks familiar to you, the Batman and Robin logo, you might recognize it from this. When I saw this, the first thing I thought of were these old school Batman comics where it was Batman with Robin the Teen Wonder, and I like how Grant Morrison pays homage to that by having the new Batman and Robin. Obviously, if you're reading this comic, you know there's a totally different dynamic. There's a role reversal where he's just a little prick and he's more of his babysitter, but this is Dick Grayson instead of Batman, and here it's Bruce Wayne with Dick Grayson, and he's like the loyal sidekick and stuff. So it's a very, very interesting contrast, but they maintain some kind of continuity, obviously, because it's the Batman. Batman's a legend, so. But yeah, this comic, just amazing. Here's a different type of comic, Tomb of Dracula #1. Now, I've never actually gone into the horror comics, but a friend of mine keeps telling me I should, so he gave me a good deal on this, because if you can see, it's actually cut right here. I think someone ordered this comic and it came in an envelope and he opted to cut the envelope, didn't realize that he was cutting through the comic, so I got this one for like 15 bucks, but apart from that, it's high grade. So if anyone's read this, please let me know. I have yet to read this. I just got it. So, but I mean, again, these Bronze Age comics, it's all about the cover and the bright colors. And I mean, you recognize a Bronze Age comic by this Marvel Comics group banner, but still, you know, a different type of comic. You know, you got to keep your horizons open and all that. Here's a comic you don't see all too often from 1984, I believe. No, 83. Grendel #1. I've been wanting this book for so long, but the high grade copies always run around $100. Now I saw a copy of this, but like ripped to shit, and it was selling for about 35. I got this for 20 because it was originally for 40, and I made a best offer of 20, and next thing you know, it was sent in the mail for me. But if you've never read Grendel, I suggest you read it. He's essentially the anti-Batman. I mean, he's a rich socialite, but he murders for fun, he murders for profit, for power. He's at the peak of physical and mental conditioning as well, but just an amazing comic. Not too easy to get, and let alone in a high grade, but I'm a big fan of Matt Wagner, and I'm a big fan of Grendel, but done by Matt Wagner. So this is a nice example of old school 80s independent comics. Now the next comic I considered vintage, but maybe you won't, but only because it still seems kind of recent, although this is a 20-year-old book. This is New Mutants #87, the first appearance of Cable. Now, everybody's out buying this comic, which New Mutants #98, the first appearance of Deadpool. Don't get me wrong, I love Deadpool. A little saturated, but he's a good character. But this comic, in its first printing with a red background, I still don't see it all too often. I always see the gold one, the second printing, which you can buy in a dollar bin or a quarter bin. But again, I mean, this is like an old school Rob Liefeld 1990 comic with McFarlane doing inking too, which is rare to see, considering these two, you know, would often butt heads in image. And I mean, a lot of people have a slight disdain towards Liefeld. I don't mind him. I think he's cool. No, he's a pioneer in what he does, but still, this is New Mutants '87, and if you like Cable, I strongly suggest you read this title. At least the first few issues. I might do a review on these, but the first few issues by, I can't say his name, Swerzinski and Olivetti are like, they're amazing. I mean, you got this armored tank of a soldier, and he's protecting like the little Messiah baby. It's just, it's I don't know, I've never read anything like it. Just an amazing comic book. So thanks to this, I had to go back and get this, but now I have a nice run of Rob Liefeld comics. So yeah, this is my second in 2 vintage comics videos. So yeah, a bunch of X-Men comics, some Batman, New Mutants, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Thor, just, you know what, Silver Age, Bronze Age, man, that's what's up. Like, I love the modern comics, I love how they mature and all. I mean, Blackest Night, Necrosha, X-Men and everything, but I can always go back to these and they'll always make me smile. So it's all about, you know, the hunt. Having it is one thing, but acquiring it is something else. So as long as there's like a million vintage comics out there, I'm just going to keep hunting. Alright guys, thanks for everything. Thanks for your support, your comments, your emails, questions, the whole nine. If you like what I do, just let me know. Alright, peace.